Hello students, good morning. Welcome in today's lecture. We are discussing our topic enhancement of food production, and in previous lecture we have discussed some content from our textbook and we have finished this content up to the industrial production of the products with the help of these microbes, and we have finished that point up to the enzymes. Okay, one point is remaining from that is the hormone gibberellin. But in today's lecture we are discussing the same content from the NCERT, and it is important for the NEET point of view. So today's lecture is for those students who are preparing the exam or who are going to face the exam NEET, and that's why here today's discussion is totally depend or it is considered as according to the syllabus of the NCERT. So here we are discussing the NCERT content of the enhancement of food production, and in that point we are going to discuss in detail the microbes for human welfare. Microbes for human welfare. So it is very clear that microbes for human welfare, it is a content from NCERT that today we are going to discuss, which is important for the NEET exam. So today's lecture is for NEET exam, and the point is the microbes for human welfare. The point that we have already studied from the textbook, same point we will discuss here in today's lecture, but it is from NCERT. Okay, so here as we have seen in our state board syllabus, that is how these microbes are involved in the household production. For example, we have seen it is useful in the food preparation, it is useful for the formation of dairy products, it is useful as directly eaten as a food. So this content we have seen in the state board syllabus, but here under the syllabus or under the title of the microbes in household production, microbes in household production, we have to discuss the somewhat different points from this NCERT. Okay, the same title is there, that is the role of microbes in household production, and here we have to discuss the content. But see, you have to know that in our state board syllabus number of examples are given, but here that examples are not given, and you can see that during the household production or the role of microbes in household production, the first point which is discussed in NCERT is that the microbes, all microbes are not harmful to the human being, because you know that number of microbes like bacteria, viruses, protozoans, nematodes, fungi can produce various types of diseases in the human body, but some of them are very useful to the human being. That's why they can be used for the human welfare. They can carry out the process of fermentation, and by which they produce the different products which are useful to the human being. Now we have to see which content is given in NCERT under the title household production, or the role of microbes in household production. Here one first line is given that these microbes or product of the microbes are useful to the human being. These microbes or products of microbes are useful to the human being, and the example of it is given, that is the curd formation. Example is given, that is the curd formation. So for the formation of curd, the bacteria which is involved is given as lactobacillus, and also the another sentence is given that lactobacillus as well as lab means lactic acid bacteria. Lactic acid bacteria are responsible for formation of the curd. Same content we have seen in our state board syllabus. So here lab and lactobacillus, these are the bacteria which has a role in the formation of the curd. Then what happened here? During the formation of curd, this lab, that is the lactic acid bacteria, produce the acids. which we commonly call as a lactic acid. This lactic acid bacteria, during the growth in that milk, they produce the acid, and that acid is particularly called as a lactic acid. That lactic acid coagulate and partially digest that lactic acid coagulate and partially digest milk protein. Okay, and that's why that milk gets converted into the curd because of the role of this lab bacteria which produce the lactic acid. We have seen that the protein which is present in the milk, that is called as a casein protein, and that can be partially digested with the help of this lactic acid bacteria. But one more thing is given in NCERT that we have not discussed in our state board syllabus, and that is this lactic acid bacteria has another role for the human being, and those are it increases the nutritional value. It increases the nutritional value of curd by increasing the vitamin B12. Okay, so this is very important for NEET point of view, that this lactic acid bacteria increases the nutritional value of the curd by increasing vitamin B12 in it. As well as this lab bacteria also check the disease causing microbes in the stomach. So second one is it checks disease causing microbes in stomach. So you have to focus on these 2 points which are given in NCERT, that is, other than the lab acid, lactic acid bacteria, by formation of the curd, they are also involved in the increasing the nutritional value of the curd by increasing in it the vitamin B12, as well as when it is present in the stomach, there may be some bacteria which may be ingested with our food and it goes into the stomach. So they check whether there is a bacteria in the stomach. So checking of the microbe, not only bacteria, checking of the microbe in the stomach, and increases the nutritional value by increasing the vitamin B12 in the curd. These are the roles given in NCERT. So here we have completed first point of the microbes in the household production. Then the second point is given, that is here second example. Then the curd is given, and that is of the dough, and that is of the dough of idli and dosa. Idli and dosa, where they says that this bacteria also ferment the food, and by which we can prepare the idli and dosa. So dough which is prepared for making this food is due to the role of the bacteria. So it is very clear, if there will be question for NEET, that is which microbes has role in the preparation of dough of idli and dosa, then you have to write the answer only bacteria, not fungi, or a particular example of fungi, that is yeast, or not any other microorganisms are go there, but only bacteria are responsible for preparation of the dough of idli and dosa. So it is very important that bacteria has a role in the preparation of this dough. There will be puffy appearance. Puffy means the pit जे आहे डो जे आहे ते तुम्हाला फुगलेलं पाहायला मिळतं, and we have seen the reason for that. The reason for that is while growing this bacteria in that particular dough, they produce the CO2 gas, and that CO2 gas is cause the popping of that dough. So CO2 release during the growth of this bacteria in that particular dough, that dough can be appear as a puffy appearance. Okay, so this is one other thing. Then next point is that that is the traditional bin. Or one more point is given in NCERT that not only for the preparation of dough these bacteria are used, but there is one yeast that is called as the baker's yeast. We have also discussed this point, and the name of that baker's yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Why it is called as baker yeast? Because this yeast can be used for the preparation of the bread. As we are discussing it under the household production, so bread is one of the important food for making the food, that is the bread. This yeast is used, the name of that yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and that is called as the baker's yeast. So it is one of the things given under the household production. Then the traditional drinks. We have also covered this point that in some part of the south or in the south India, there is one of the traditional drink, and name of that traditional drink is called as a toddy. And this traditional drink is prepared in the South India by fermenting the palm tree. So by fermentation of the palm, that means sugary content which is present in the palm, that by fermenting the sugary content of the palm plant, there will be production of the liquid, and that is called as a toddy, which is used as a traditional drink in South India. So palm, that means we have seen that like the coconut, the plant which is called as a coconut plant, and that is usually called as palm, or some different plant like the same coconut tree are present, that we also call as a palm. But here, for your understanding, you consider palm tree as a coconut tree. So it is one of the points which we have discussed in the household production of the microbes. Now, the next important point is given, that is the cheese. One of the important points is called as cheese. Here, we have to also know that this traditional drink that we call as a toddy is prepared by fermenting the palm tree. But there is also the fermentation of the fish, fermentation of the soya bean, fermentation of the bamboo shoot, fermentation of the bamboo shoot, and so by this there will be production of the food. So here we have to discuss that palm tree is also fermented, by which the toddy national or traditional drink in South India is prepared. But there should be, or there will be always fermentation of the fish, fermentation of the soya bean, fermentation of the bamboo. Bamboo is a plant, shoot is the stem part of the plant, bamboo plant can be fermented, and by which different foods can be prepared. So this can be also used for the fermentation process, and by which the food can be prepared. And the last part which is given in NCERT is the cheese. Okay, we have also discussed this part in our textbook, but very short information about cheese is given in NCERT, that is the cheese is a oldest food. Okay, and the role of microbes are there in the formation of the cheese. We have seen that one of the cheese, and the name of that cheese is, that is the Swiss cheese. So Swiss cheese. What is the characteristics of this Swiss cheese? This Swiss cheese is one of the type of cheese which has large hole at the center. Okay, so they has large hole at center, and this hole in this Swiss cheese is due to the production of the CO2 by that microbe. It is due to production of CO2 by this microbe. Okay, this we have seen. So if in NCERT will be question there, that is the large hole is present in one of the cheese due to the production of the CO2, then you have to remember the name of that cheese, that is called as the Swiss cheese. That cheese is called as a Swiss cheese. Okay, question will be not asked like this, the large hole in Swiss cheese is due to dot dot formation, but question will be asked like that, the large hole in one of the cheese due to the CO2 production, and the name of that cheese, so you have to remember the name Swiss cheese. Okay, so because why it is given like this, because one of the another cheese we have to remember, and that is called as Roquefort cheese, because one of the another cheese, that is Roquefort cheese, is also there produced with the help of the growth of mold on them, and that mold gives characteristics, flavor, texture to that cheese. So we have to remember the another name of the cheese, and see here I will write here, and that cheese is called as the, okay. Now one thing is given here, we have seen that this cheese which is called as a sweet cheese, which has one characteristics that is called as a large hole. Okay, how it is produced? By the production of the CO2 gas. But there is the involvement of one bacteria which produces that cheese, and that bacteria produces the large hole in that cheese, and the name of that bacteria is given, and that is called as the Propionibacterium Sharman. Okay, so here it is very important that you have to remember the name of that bacteria, that is called as Propionibacterium sharmani. This bacteria is responsible for production of the large hole in the sweet cheese. So question will be asked that large hole in the cheese due to the CO2 production is name of that sweet cheese. Or when there is question match the column, then at one column they has given the name of different cheese, one is the sweet cheese, then you have to write the answer from the another column, and in the another column the name of that particular microbe will be there, and the name of that microbe is Propionibacterium sharmani. Okay, so you have to remember the linking of sweet cheese and Propionibacterium sharmani, which is responsible for production of that cheese. One more cheese is there, and the name of that cheese is called as Roquefort cheese. Roquefort cheese. But see here, in NCERT, not a name of microbes is given under this Roquefort cheese. Only here given that Roquefort cheese is produced by growing the fungi on them or growing the mold on them. So you have to remember here that Roquefort cheese is due to the growth of the fungi. See here what I am telling you, that for neat point of view it is very important that, because line to line MCQ are there, and you have to remember very carefully that Roquefort cheese is produced by the role of fungi, while sweet cheese are produced by the role of bacteria. And name of bacteria is mentioned here under the sweet cheese, but name of the fungi is not mentioned under the Roquefort cheese. They have simply given that fungi are responsible for formation of the Roquefort cheese. It is another type of cheese, and growth of that fungi ripen that cheese, form that cheese, it gives specific flavor to that cheese. So the student which are going to face the exam NEET, they should understand that these are the content which are given in NCERT, and how it is different in NCERT. Very little information is given, that is Roquefort cheese, no any microorganism is given here, but we have seen that in state board number of microbes are given under this Roquefort cheese. Okay, sweet cheese, we have to remember the example, that is the Propionibacterium sharmani. For idli dosa, bacteria are only responsible. Baker yeast means Saccharomyces cerevisiae yeast. Traditional ring toddy is formed by the fermenting palm tree, and it is with the help of the microbe. As well as we can ferment the fish, the soya bean, as well as the bamboo shoot. So this content is very important for household production, and you have to remember only this content under the household production of the or role of the microbes under this point, household production. Okay, now we will see the next point, that is how these microbes are involved for production of the industry or industrial products can be formed by this microbes. So here next point is and that is the industrial products. Second point is industrial products. And here only two products are given in NCERT. One is called as beverages and second one is called as antibiotics. Beverages and antibiotics. Okay. Our study book syllabus, different points are given. That is the beverages, antibiotics, organic acid, vitamin, enzyme, gibberellin. But in NCERT book, only two products are given. That beverages and the antibiotics. And for production of these beverages and antibiotics, the large container is responsible, and that large container is called as a fermenter. That large container is called as fermenter, which is a large vessel in which the growth of the microbes as well as production of the products takes place, and that we already discussed. That is tubular fermenter tower is the name of that fermenter. We have seen it, how it is used for the production of these products. So first we will see the beverages. Okay, the content which is given in our textbook, same content is given in NCERT. That is, for beverages, the microorganism which is used, and that is nothing but the yeast, and the name of that yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Name of that yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, so this is the first thing. Second thing is that which beverages are produced. That those are wine, beer, whiskey, brandy and rum. Okay, these are the names of beverages which are produced at the industrial level. Here also they have given that wine and beer are produced without distillation, while whiskey, brandy and rum are produced with distillation. We have discussed what is distillation, what is without distillation process. So we are not going to discuss here because the same content is given in a NCERT book. Wine, beer are produced without distillation. Brandy, rum and whiskey are produced with distillation. Okay, and which raw material is used for the production of these beverages? One is called as malted cereals and fruit juices. Same content is given there. That is, malted cereals means what? The cereals which are first soaked in water and then get dried to the air, that we call as the malted cereals. Wheat, rice, maize, etc. Then the fruit juices, different fruit juices, by with the help of which can we also prepare these beverages. And one more thing is that here the yeast which is used for the production of these alcoholic beverages, that yeast is called as the brewer's yeast. That yeast is called as the brewer's yeast. And just now we have seen that the yeast which is used for the preparation of the bread is called as the baker yeast. So baker yeast and the brewer yeast, baker yeast and the brewer yeast, these are the name of the same yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is involved for making of bread, which is called as baker yeast, which is involved for making of the alcoholic beverages, which is called as the brewer yeast. Okay, so here same content is given, not different thing is there. So it is very easy to remember the beverages under the industrial products. Now the next point that is we have to discuss is the antibiotic. So all this content is of the beverages. Now we have to discuss antibiotic. So here also antibiotics is also easy in NCERT because here you have to not remember any antibiotic and the name of microbes produced by it, because in our previous lecture we have seen that in our textbook number of antibiotics are given like streptomycin, chloromycetin, cryptopulmin, about 6 to 7 antibiotics, and their microbes are given. You have to remember the microbes as well as the antibiotic produced by it. But in NCERT book, not a single antibiotic and its microbe name you have to remember. You have to remember only theory, and that is that the antibiotic, we have discussed that these are the chemical substances. These are the chemical substances secreted by some microbes to kill or retard the growth of the other microbes. Okay, same thing we have discussed. Now here one more thing that you have to remember, that the discovery of the antibiotic, or you have to remember that the first antibiotic which will be discovered is which has been discovered is the penicillin, and the discovery of this penicillin is called as the chance discovery. It is called as the chance discovery. Why it is called as the chance discovery? Because this antibiotic penicillin is produced by chance, and which scientist has role in it? So the name of the scientist, that is called as Alexander Fleming, discovered this antibiotics by chance while working on bacteria, and the name of that bacteria is called as Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus. So for neat point of view, you have to remember the name of bacteria, that is called as Staphylococcus bacteria, the name of scientist, that is Alexander Fleming, and the name of the antibiotic which was first discovered, that is the penicillin. This point is given in NCERT. And here what happened, that this Alexander Fleming, while working on that bacteria, that Staphylococcus bacteria, he found that in one of his unwashed plate, means he was doing that experiment in a plate, and he found that in one of his unwashed plate there will be the Staphylococcus, means in one of his unwashed plate he found that there is no growth of this Staphylococcus, because the mold is present there, and that mold secretes some of the substances due to which the Staphylococcus bacteria do not grow in that plate. And by this process he first observed that some of the microbes secrete some of the chemical which inhibit or retard the growth of the other microbes, and that's why the molds which are present in one of his unwashed culture can secrete some chemical, and due to which Staphylococcus bacteria do not grow at that place. So by this he first accidentally discovered the antibiotic, and the name of the antibiotic is penicillium. Later on the name is given as Penicillium notatum. Name of that antibiotic is Penicillium notatum. Okay, here one of the important things is that even though the Alexander Fleming was the first scientist who discovered accidentally this antibiotic, but the effective potential of that penicillium or that substance as an effective antibiotic was first given by the two scientists, and we have to remember their name as the Chain. So Ernest Chain, and second scientist is known as Howard Florey. Okay, so here very important thing is that this Chain and Florey has given the full potential of that antibiotic. म्हणजे लोकांसमोर हे antibioticच आहे हे पहिल्यांदा व्यवस्थित कोणी आणलं तर या फ्लोरी आणि चेननं. So if there is question is like that, the full potential of the antibiotic was given by scientists, then you have to remember Chain and Florey. you have to remember the name chain and flora. And if the question is that who discovered the antibiotics, then you have to give the name Alexander Fleming. On which bacteria? Staphylococcus bacteria. So here the Nobel Prize was given to 3 scientists, and those are Chain, Florey and Alexander, okay, for their contribution in the discovery of antibiotic, because Fleming had discovered antibiotic, but its full potential as antibiotic was first discovered by scientists Chain and Florey. So Nobel Prize is given to Chain, Florey and Alexander for their contribution in antibiotics. Okay. Now we have seen that there are some deadly diseases like whooping cough, plague, diphtheria, leprosy, which was completely cured by this antibiotic. We call it as a deadly diseases. But you have to remember one more thing is that the another name which are given in NCERT that you should know for NEET point of view, that is the name, that is, for example, see here, this whooping cough. This whooping cough is commonly called as kali khasi. Diphtheria is called as galgotu. Then here leprosy is called as kushro. Okay, because why it is very essential? Because sometimes one column is given here by the common name whooping cough, diphtheria and leprosy, and maybe in the second column may be given the names like the kali khasi, galgotu, kushro. So you should know that leprosy is also called as kushro, diphtheria is also called as galgotu, and whooping cough is also called as kali khasi. These names are extra given in our NCERT book. And students, see here, by the discovery of this antibiotic by this Alexander Fleming and its full potential discussed by the Florey and Chain, it is very possible that it will be useful to treat the wounded soldiers which was injured in the Second World War in America. म्हणजे अमेरिकामध्ये सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर मध्ये जे इंजुर झाले होते लोक, त्यांना या अँटीबायोटिकची ट्रीटमेंट इझिली देता आली, आणि त्यामुळे पहिल्यांदा लक्षात आलं की हाऊ दिस अँटीबायोटिक आर useful for the human being. Okay, so here we have completed the antibiotic point from the NCERT, and you can get idea that how it is easy that remember this antibiotic for NEET point of view. Okay, now the third point that we are going to discuss, and that is the chemical, enzyme and other bioactive molecule under the microbes in human welfare. Chemicals, enzymes and other bioactive molecule. Okay, they have separated the part, that is only beverages and antibiotics are given under the title industrial product, but the chemical, enzymes and other bioactive molecules, they are separated this point, and under this we have to discuss some of the points which are not given in our state board syllabus. So what is the chemicals? So here they have given that organic acid, enzymes or the organic acids, enzymes or alcohols are produced. So which chemicals? That is organic acids, alcohols, organic acids, alcohols, and some of the enzymes are there which are produced. And here they have given some of the name of the microbes and their acids. So here students, we have discussed it that Aspergillus niger. For NEET point of view, again we have to remember not only the name, but we have to remember what is, whether it is fungi, bacteria or any other microbe. So Aspergillus niger is a fungi which is responsible for production of the organic acid that is called as citric acid. Acetobacter acidi, it is a bacteria which is responsible for production of acetic acid. Third one example is given that Clostridium botulicum. What is it? It is a bacteria responsible for formation of butyric acid. Lactobacillus, it is again bacteria responsible for formation of lactic acid. Then Saccharomyces cerevisiae, it is the yeast responsible for formation of ethanol. See students, you are well known about this Aspergillus niger, Acetobacter, Lactobacillus, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, but two additional points are given. Those are the one additional point is given only, and that is the Clostridium botulicum. But here you have to read carefully, that is, these are the names of the microbes and these are the products produced by them. See here, Aspergillus niger, which is the fungi, produce the citric acid. Acetobacter acidi is a bacteria which produces acetic acid. Clostridium botulicum is a bacteria which produces butyric acid. Lactobacillus is the bacteria which produces the lactic acid. And Saccharomyces cerevisiae is a yeast or fungi which produce the ethanol or the alcohol. So this chart is very important. You have to remember all these microbes, and you have to remember also whether it is a fungi or bacteria or the particular yeast. So it is very important for this point of view, because number of students remember that Aspergillus niger is responsible for the organic acid, citric acid, but they don't know what is the nature of Aspergillus niger, whether it is bacteria or the fungi. So this point is also important, that you should know what is the nature of that microbes. Okay, so this is given under the title Chemical Enzymes and Other Bioactive Molecules. Now here we have to study the role of the enzymes, because in our previous lecture we have seen the role of enzyme lipase, but here we have to discuss more enzymes and their role under this title. So next point is the enzymes, and here we have to see that some enzymes are there and in that the first enzyme is given, that is lipase enzyme. First enzyme is given, that is a lipase enzyme. You have seen that this lipase enzyme is used in detergents, okay, because they have property to remove the oily stains, they have property to bring the brightness to the cloth or fabric. That's why these are used in the detergent to remove the oily stain. They are also used in the laundry to remove the oily stain. So if the question is asked that in the detergent formulation which enzyme are used, then the name of that enzyme is the lipase. Then the second enzyme, that is called as the two enzymes are there, pectinase and proteases. Proteases, they are used for clarification of bottle juice. What is mean that? See here, if we make juice in our home, then you can see that in that juice number of fibers are there. That juice are not clear as like that of the market juice. Okay, and that's why remember here that in the market the juice can be prepared by the adding some of the enzyme, and name of that enzymes are pectinase and protease. म्हणजे घरातला ज्यूस आपला जो असतो त्याचं कंपॅरिझन आपण मार्केटच्या ज्यूसची केलं होतं. मार्केटच्या ज्यूसची बॉटल तुम्हाला अतिशय क्लिअर दिसते, कुठल्याही प्रकारचे यामध्ये फायबर पाहायला मिळत नाही. हे जे क्लिअरनेस असतो त्या ज्यूसला, त्या ज्यूसच्या बॉटलमध्ये 2 एन्झाईम ॲड केले असतात, पेक्टिनेज आणि प्रोटीज. त्यामुळे पेक्टिनेज आणि प्रोटीज एन्झाईमचा रोल काय सांगायचा? फॉर क्लॅरिफिकेशन ऑफ द बॉटल ज्यूस these 2 enzymes are important. Okay, this is the second one. Now the third enzyme, and that is called as streptokinase. But here we have to remember that this enzyme is produced by the bacteria. So here in bracket we write the name of that bacteria, that is called as Streptococcus. So streptokinase, which is an enzyme produced by bacteria, Streptococcus, is used as a clot booster. Is used as a clot booster. Then what is meant by clot booster? The clot boosters is nothing but there will be clots in the blood vessels of the patient who has myocardial infarction. That is, another word is that heart attack. So the person who has the clots in their blood vessel have the chances of the heart attack. And such a patient, when get paining in his chest or in his body part, and then immediately when it is admitted to the hospital, then that patient immediately gives the injection of the enzyme which contains the streptokinase. And by injecting the streptokinase, that enzyme immediately gets mixed into the blood and dissolve that clots which are formed in the blood vessel. म्हणजे काय सांगायचं आपल्याला इथं? मायोकार्डियल इन्फेक्शन जे तुम्ही सर्क्युलेशन मध्ये शिकलेले आहात, it is one kind of disease which is related to our heart, and the blood vessel which supplies blood to the heart has a clot in that. That's why blood cannot be supplied properly to the heart, and so there will be chances of myocardial infection leading to the heart attack. And if there will be severe condition is there, patient may be die. And so to avoid or to dissolve that clots, there will be one enzyme is given in the injection, and the name of that enzyme is called as streptokinase. Okay, so here we have given some of the names of these enzymes. Okay, so here you have to remember only these enzymes and their role. That is, the lipase enzyme is responsible for the removing oily stains, so they are used in detergent formulation. Pectinase and protease enzymes are responsible for clarification of the bottle juice, so they are used in the market. Streptokinase enzyme is produced by the bacteria Streptococcus, and they act as a clot booster, dissolve the clots. Students may be confused that the Staphylococcus bacteria and Streptococcus bacteria. Staphylococcus bacteria we have seen as a work material of the Alexander Fleming, and the Streptococcus bacteria is a bacteria which produces the enzyme streptokinase. Okay, so here we have completed the point, that is the enzyme. So here we have finished some of the important content from the NCERT, and what we have discussed today, we have discussed the role of microbes in household production, the role of microbes in the industrial production, that is the beverages and the antibiotics. And third point that we are going to discuss, is the chemical enzymes and the other bioactive molecule. And from that point, we have completed the point up to the enzyme, lipases, pectinase, protease and streptokinase. So read it carefully for next point of view, and next point that are remaining we will finish in our next lecture. Thank you.